Hi everybody, I'm MaDonna from Mad Bees Quilt and Sew, and today I'm going to do a quick demo here for a couple different ways to do some bias binding. We're going to gather our tools today, and I've got with me my traditional ruler, a rotary cutter, a cutting mat. I've also got here on the table a fat quarter, but it doesn't really matter what size fabric you work with. What does matter is how you fold it. So this is the folding method for bias binding. I'm going to have my wrong side of my fabric down to my table. I'm going to fold in one corner. I'm going to fold down the other corner. What matters is that this here is sitting parallel to each other. So let's do that again. I'm going to come way up here this time, and I'm going to come way down here this time, and I'm making sure that those are sitting parallel to each other. Doesn't matter where on the fabric. This method works best for square, rectangular. It does not work real well for a quarter yard of fabric. You're going to get way too short of strips. We're going to take it and we're going to turn it, and we're lining up so this is nice and straight on our cutting mat. Once I've got it straight and I'm happy with the way that that's looking, I'm going to take this end here and fold it towards me. I'm going to take it again and fold it towards me. Kind of like an old style handkerchief. I'm going to start cutting, and I'm going to cut 2 1/4 inch pieces. When I look at this, I'm making sure my line on my ruler is nice and straight all the way across. I didn't do this end piece because it's going to leave me with very short pieces. Cut. Oh, I think I need a new blade. 2 1/4. I'm nice and straight at the top. I'm nice and straight at the bottom, and cut. And cut. Once I've cut several strips, I'm going to show you how to place them together. I would continue cutting the rest of that length. I'm now going to take my strips and open them up. I'm taking my pieces and I'm laying them and connecting them with the wrong side facing up towards us. Once I've got them like that, you can see how they're a perfect match there. I'm going to be able to pick up those 2 pieces, offset by my quarter of an inch. Sew that together from divot to divot. It's going to open up and make beautiful bias binding for us. Okay, for the second method that I'm going to do today, I'm going to first start off with removing my selvage because I don't want that in the way. I'm going to grab it and I'm just going to trim that away. Make sure that you're taking off all of the selvage. I see a lot of people who will go right to that white line, but sometimes it's even in a little deeper than that. So I'm just clearing that away. Done. Okay, so this method is also for bias binding, okay? We are going to take our ruler and we are going to create a triangle. So if you look, we have a 45-degree angle there. I need my fabric to be cut on a 45-degree angle, just like that. Ta-da! This piece here is going to go right to here and be sewn together. I now have beautiful bias strips that I can cut from this. Once I have this sewn together, I'm going to lay out my ruler at my 2 1/4, and I am just going to continue to cut strips all the way across. If this gets too long for me, I can fold it in half also, but I'm just going to continue to cut. I'm going to move over, and again, I have beautiful bias pieces that will connect to each other quite nicely. right across into that other section without any problem. I'm going to do 2 1/4 again, and I'm just going to continue all the way through that strip. And you can see how when I get to over here, it's just going to have a little bit of a seam right there. It's beautiful. Again, when I'm ready to sew these strips together, I am going to lay them out on my table. I'm going to find its matching coordinate. Now you can see we have a little bit of a funky line right there, okay? That's going to happen to you. All we're going to do is use our 45-degree line on our ruler. I got to get it right now. 45-degree line on our ruler. There we go. But I'm going the wrong directions. Can you see how that's going the wrong way? We don't want that. We need to come over here and line up our 45 and keep it the same. Right there. There's our 45. Clean that up. So bias is 45. That's what you really need to remember. This is going to go right next to it now. They're a perfect match, and we're going to be able to sew those together. I would use bias binding on anything that has curves. I would use bias binding on anything that is made for a baby. When you're using bias binding on a baby quilt, it is more durable. The threads in it are shorter, and it's going to last quite a bit longer for you. I would also use bias binding on a quilt that I know is going to hang, because it's going to have more resilience. It's not going to droop nearly as much. I would also use bias binding anytime I'm using a stripe, because stripes just look awesome on the bias. So when do I need to be careful when I'm using bias binding? Bias binding automatically has more stretch to it. I think I showed you that early on. It has more give to it, which we love. So on curves, it's going to go around, but you cannot use it when you use your pressing tool. This way. You cannot use it because you're going to stretch it out in that process. So you never want to run it through here. When you're pressing it to put it onto your quilt, use light fingers, no steam. Let it have that give back to it. A great thing to do when you're using bias is make sure you're using your walking foot. It is going to go on much nicer with your walking foot. Like, subscribe, and tune in next week.